On our way to drop them off at school, and I got to go to the barn. We're training all the babies today. I might even train a couple of 3-year-olds today. A number of 3-year-olds training tomorrow. Just a lot of horses getting closer and getting ready to race. Hey, you. Addie had a little bit of a cough last night. She was up all night coughing, which meant I was up all night also. So I suspect there'll be a significant nap coming this afternoon. But you know what? I'm still sharp and ready to go. Addie. Still sharp and ready to go this morning. Now, yesterday, our races weren't until much later in the afternoon. 8 horses going, but didn't start till 4 o'clock. So there wasn't much I could bring you last night. I thought I would do it today. Thought I'd do it today when I was sharp and feeling good. You know, it's always great to kick off the day with a win. Now, we didn't have the week we didn't have the Monday we had last Monday. We didn't have the week starting the same way, but nevertheless, we were a bit spoiled last week. And I thought yesterday overall was pretty good. I think we had a first, a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth. That guy was fourth too. So Kenobi started off the day well. He won his race great. It's great when you send a horse somewhere and it works, right? There's nothing, I feel, it bothers me to no end when I send a horse somewhere and the class doesn't go, or the horse gets beat up in the class you thought that he or she would do well in. It's very frustrating. It's racing. There's nothing you can do, but I was very happy. Now, we've raced Kenobi twice. That's 2 wins. Brett Beckwith drove him perfect again. Just a great drive from him. You know, I know that Brett had done really well last year, but I watched him a little closer the last little while, mostly because he's driving ours, and I see a lot of the updates and highlights, and he's doing a great job. It's nice to see a kid come along, right? Much like a young horse. You don't know what they're going to do when they get to the track. They do okay, but are they going to be able to get to the next level? And for Mark and Melissa, it's great to see Brett starting to get there. And putting in the work. Jeepers, I saw him in Freehold, I saw him in Saratoga, the Meadowlands. Good for him. You got to put the miles in if you want to get noticed, and Brett's certainly doing that. So Kenobi looked great. Very happy with him. Unbeatable Kemp. There's a horse that was exactly 4 weeks race to race. 4 weeks, going from a 5/8 to a half. Actually, his last one might have been a half. I can't remember. No, it was in the mud in the meadows. I tried to keep him off Northfield, and we were waiting for those 2 wins to drop off his card. They have now, but it'll be next Friday. And I know everybody's saying, oh, he's going to be short. He's going to be... Just relax. Remember who we're dealing with. We're dealing with a horse. We're trying to mitigate those knee issues with him, and he was awesome last night. Now, for those of you out there wondering how bad it is, he doesn't wear a head pole on a half-mile track, so it's not horrible. But it's something we're always watching and we're always managing. And Unbeatable Kemp, very good last night. Nothing but short. You know, and that's the other thing, is that you can't go and just scorch him a training mile to tighten him up. You can't. So Tim did the best job he could, keeping him tight over 4 weeks. A couple of race cards canceled. There wasn't much we could do with that. And last night, although it was a shortened field because of a scratch, no jokes in there, and I thought Unbeatable Kemp tried his heart out, you know, closing in right through the wire to be beat a length, finished 3rd in 56, a big mile from him, and he raced great. Now we can easily put him right back in that class, but I think we'll go back to a class that's much easier, the one that he won easily, that we had lost those 2 wins out of. He'll go back into that class, but it won't be this week. It'll be the following week, which is perfectly fine with Unbeatable Kemp, especially given that class. Much easier class than the one he was in last night. You all right, Addie Bear? Renegade Gypsy was good last night. You just can't be first over with him, right? It was funny because I talked to Ron Burke last night just briefly about a couple of things, and he said the same thing. You just got caught in the first over spot, and it's not where you want to be, but it's racing, you know. You're not going to stay in. The horse has been racing good, so you want to at least give him a chance to do his best work. And last night he didn't just get a chance to do that. He's just first over. It's funny because Ron had said the same thing. He said, you know, when he's not in a place to do great, he doesn't do that good. Something along those lines, and it was bang on. You know, a perfect analogy for a horse that we've known for quite a while, that he's only known for, you know, half a year or 8 months or something. But Renegade Gypsy, that's what's going to happen when you're first over with him. Kings County made a break from the rail. Addie, are you okay? I know. Just drink your hot chocolate, honey, and eat your grapes. All right. Right now, eat up. That's a girl. Kings County, I talked to Stacy about him last night. She said, just lost him in the first turn. He just looks a little rough behind. And I think a lot of that is loading weight. And I'd said to her, I said, it's what we say sometimes with these horses, especially horses that are coming back or horses that are that were coming back off a rest or an injury. Forget the horse he was. Hang the horse up that you're looking at. And that's certainly not anyway an admonishment of Stacy and Brett, but just trying to bring Kings County back may not be the best course of action. Let's just try and get this Muscle Hill horse going, right? This aged horse. Don't worry about what his name is. Strip them all down, put them back together. And I think that's all we have to do with Kings County. We'll see what happens this week, but there's nothing wrong with the horse in that regard. I think if he is a little rough behind, I think he is loading weight, a little stiff over his back, things like that. We can treat all of that stuff. We just have to get away from the idea that it's Kings County for now and get back to racing horses. And that's hard to do sometimes. And that's not to say that that's what you need to do. Recognizing what I'm saying is recognizing any issues, new or old, and addressing them is what we have to do with Kings County. What we have to do with every horse, but definitely what we have to do with Kings County. Never want to see him make a break, but there was no lameness issues, and not the first time he's ever made a break in the first turn either, by the way. We'll get this guy back going and firing on all cylinders soon enough. I'm sure of that. Locatelli last night raced good again. I talked to Chris Christoforo briefly after the race. Said he thought he might have a tiny quarter crack coming, and then his stifles were shaking a bit. Very telling. Again, you don't have to load a lot of weight to start throwing horses off a little bit. And if you do got a tiny quarter crack coming, and next thing you know, you see their stifles shaking, to me, the track was good last night. He shod the same way and properly, the way he always is. So where did the stifles shaking come from? I think just loading a tiny bit of weight. Bye, guys. Can you help your sister out, please, Ava?
She's not going to school.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm sorry. Addie's skipping school again today. Hey, Ave. Yeah? There's buttons on the front of your coat for a reason. They do up. Okay, yeah. Why do kids do that? Walk around with their coats wide open or over their arm. All right, thank you. So Addie Bear's skipping again today. That hopefully the tail end of a pesky little cough. She gets like this. She'll cough and then it lingers a little longer than it did with Ava and Ollie, but she's getting better. As I say that, she coughs. I think it's because she's a preemie, right? Addie Bear, grapes, drink, deep press, okay? So Locatelli, although all of what I just said is true, he raced very good last night also. And I had a great conversation with Chris regarding Locatelli. Many of you know that I had floated his name for selling last week, and a lot of people didn't really understand why. And I think Chris gets it, although he certainly doesn't want to lose a drive, especially one like Locatelli. He understands exactly what's going on and what needs to happen. We have Looks Like Money and Yo Mister about to come back. We have a horse in Locatelli that spends a lot of time in the open where he's close but not there. And sure, he might win it once in a while, but for the most part, a good half of his top 6 starts on the program every time are in the open where he can't do. So I am going to refloat his name, and I would imagine after we get into that New Holland series, we probably will look to move Locatelli, and that may ruffle some feathers, it may not. But there is a reason for doing it, and somebody may say, well, can we not send him somewhere else? Where would you like to send him? He can't get around a half, so he's not getting, well, he can get around a half, but he's not coming to Northfield, he's not going to Yonkers. The Open at the Meadowlands doesn't fill all the time. The Open at Miami Valley does, but we have Renegade Gypsy in there already. And to race 2 of our horses together, whether we own a lot of one and not a lot of the other one, makes no sense. And aside from that, Dover in Motion would destroy a lot of the Open horses going in there. He's a layover, and they're doing their best to make him look like he's not, but he is a layover in that class. So you could say Poconos, somewhere along the line like that. Those tracks are opening up. Yeah, they are. They are opening up. He does his best work on a bigger track, and the reality is, and I told Amy last night, probably we're going to put White Tiger in that optional 90. Now, that isn't filling yet. The 24 class is an optional 70, which has been filling. I think he's worth a little bit more than that. The class above that, the class above that, which is below the preferred trot, that 28,000 class, that is the optional 90 claimer, and hopefully he can fit in there and they can start filling it a little more regularly. I think White Tiger will get the next week off. They both might, depending on what that quarter crack looks like with Locatelli. It didn't sound like it was very serious, though. So, sidetrack a little bit for talking about those horses. Again, I want to open up that dialogue. There are going to be other horses that are going to be sold over the next month or so. White Tiger, I just mentioned him. He wasn't awesome last night, but he is not an open trotter. And I had this argument with people all the time. They say, yes, he is. He is not. First off, he's never won the Open in his life, and he's raced in there about 15 or 20 times. Secondly, he's similar to Locatelli. If you were going to put a gun to my head and say, okay, which one's better? Locatelli probably a little bit better than White Tiger. Neither of them belong in the Open full time, especially when you get, keep in mind what the time of the year it is. You are going to get Fashion Frenzy coming back. Not to mention the Amigo horse is here already. There's 2 or 3 Fellows' horse is still going to come back also. Once those horses come back and they start filling an open trot, that $36,000 free-for-all class, they're going to want to fill it with our horses, and it's going to be absolute destruction. And I don't want to race them in there. So I have a plan for Locatelli. I have a plan for White Tiger. Looks like money? Yeah. He can race against those horses if he comes back really as good as he seems like he is. Yeah, he can get up in there. And Yo Mister, again, very similar version of Locatelli, but a year younger. He's got a year of racing behind Locatelli, and I think, somebody had said to me he's not quite as good as him. Easy now. He was second in 49 in Lexington, winning 52 on a 5/8 mile track. He's every bit as good as Locatelli. Don't kid yourself. And then we went to 2 horses that I thought rather well. We kicked off the card with a great performance in Kenobi, and we finished the card with 2 good performances. I really think what I saw, well, I guess I'll get to him in a second. Stay Close. I scored Stay Close down last night, and he made a break in the first turn, pulled his hobbles up a hole, loosened up his line pole, tightened up his head pole, and then did his work. He's a worker. Just put him in a spot to work, and he'll work all day long. Now, he's not a killer. He's not a monster. And I don't even know if he's an open trotter. But he raced very, very well in the open trot last night. I thought he raced good to be first over in that spot and try and run down the leader. I'm not familiar with that horse or the other horses in there, but I thought Stay Close raced very, very well. He and Unbeatable Kemp will go back to Tim. I don't want to race either of them on a half-mile track full time. I don't think it'd be best for them, but they have proven that they both can race on a half. Addie Bear. They both can race on a half-mile track, and that's important. I thought Collector S. Yes, honey. I thought Collector S raced fantastic last night. I can't really blame James. I saw the spot. He got in a tough spot, but he couldn't recommit to first over. That was the hand he had to play. And I actually feel bad sometimes if I rag on James about a drive because I know what is going through his head, and to judge him in hindsight is not fair. Now, we're not going to talk about the filly last week. That's a little different. But Collector S last night, I thought he drove the horse exactly how he had to. And again, had some pretty good pop the last 100. Addie Bear had some pretty good pop the last 100 yards or so of the mile. I thought he raced very good, and I think he's sitting on a win in that class. And I think this is a horse that'll trot a lot more over the next few months. I really was impressed with the way Collector S looked last night. So a lot going on. I'm on my way to go with the babies now. We're going to start at 8:30. Addie Bear. We're going to stop at CVS apparently and get some cough lozenges. Babies can have those, I think. We're going to stop at the drugstore, I think, quickly. Get Addie some Halls. You want some Halls, Addie?
No.
What about the honey ones, the yellow ones?
No.
How come? They're for coughing and clearly they fit the profile.
I want rainbow Halls.
Rainbow Halls, they don't make those. But I'll look. Anyway, on our way to the barn to get the babies trained, got some 3-year-olds training today and tomorrow. Lots of racing going on. We only got electric line tonight. I do anyway. We'll see how that plays out. But for now, you're up to date from last night and this morning. Take care. We'll talk to you all very soon.